some issues revolving around the overall site plan itself that may not be an indication of a problem with codes per se, but may be an opportunity for us to work with the individuals involved and try to come up with a solution.
Chris, as you look at what's taken place, if you could back up a little bit and say what didn't take place, or what should, give us some should-haves, could-haves, would-haves on this development. I mean, can you do that and explain why damage like this is done?
Well, there's probably, it's hard to do that without possibly being unfair to certain parties involved. One thing that did come into play with the development is apparently the grading contractor, the person responsible for doing the construction work and installing the controls on site, left or quit, or in some form or fashion was removed from the job, and the developer was essentially left in a situation with nobody on tap to put controls in place, make repairs, that sort of thing. And we had to come in and get controls in place, and a lot of this started out, I guess, early on in the process, somewhat behind just behind, I guess, in arrears with getting controls in place because of that setback.
If this was your property and you were Ms. Cole, what would you do right now?
I'd probably be doing the very same thing. I know I would also be certainly in agreement with her sentiment regarding policies and the enforcement action in the stormwater ordinance. I think that our stormwater ordinance that we have proposed is very strong, has a lot of proactive measures with regards to site planning that could avoid some of these problems that you see here. This is something that's essentially done under what's the same regulation that's on the books for the city of Knoxville.
As a county, are we doing what we should be doing for Ms. Cole?
I believe we are. In fact, I've spoken with some folks, and I think we're trying to arrange yet a further meeting to look at the overall site plan for the development to see if there's any changes that can be made, additions. It's an unusual situation because, to my understanding, there's not a flaw or an error in the site plan itself. This isn't a case of something that is a violation of code in the site plan.
Who's responsible? Is there an ultimate responsibility in terms of the owner of that property and the owner of that development?
Yes. My understanding of state law would be that any time the owner is responsible for impacts that are derived from the property. So the owner of this property adjacent to Ms. Cole would be responsible for damages or impacts caused by the work or whatever is done on that property.
Chris, has he had an notice of violation issued to him?
I believe that there have been notices of violation issued. Another case, when I said this was an interesting case, is that the developer has been extremely proactive in communicating and even arranged a meeting with our staff and Ms. Cole to try to see what kind of measures beyond the basic design plan, environmental plan, could be implemented. And our experience has been that they have been cooperative to the point of being exemplary in their response.
Has he been fined for this?
I do not believe that there's been a fine, but I'm not certain. I'd have to check files on.
I think you mentioned that he had the people that's supposed to implement the silk string stuff had quit him. Is that what procedure do we have if a developer starts a project and this goes bankrupt and leaves it vacant? Who takes care of it then?
Well, there's probably a lot of different courses of action. Probably the most rapid would be to call on the bond that's put in place for erosion sediment control. Again, that's one of the measures in the upcoming stormwater ordinance we hope to get passed is I guess a formalization of that environmental, so that issues such as this involving environmental protection associated with a land development project can be addressed in a quick, rapid way that's rather easy.
So do you have a meeting with this gentleman, this developer, I think you said something about you was working on a project or something to get them together or something? Or
I've spoken with several folks involved and interested in the situation, and the discussion's been revolving around a meeting with actually with the state, with representatives from TDEC about the development. Actually, I think Ms. Cole may not be aware of that. She may be looking at me funny over my shoulder when I say that.
Commissioner Kate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris, did it not have to be either a faulty plan or a faulty implementation of the plan?
The
drainage plan that was proposed, either that was inadequate or the way they put it in was inadequate. Isn't that what it had to be, or am I oversimplifying this?
Well, there's actually a fourth or a third situation that would apply in a lot of cases. I know that's absolutely right. We're rather dry in terms of annual rainfall right now, but the typical environmental protection design, the erosion control design for development like this, is geared towards a 2 or a 5 year, rather small storm. And when we have a storm like we had in September of 2006, you have an amount of rain and an intensity of rain that's well beyond any kind of reasonable design for environmental protection. So you could get situations with pictures a lot worse than this with a design that was perfectly implemented, perfectly designed. It simply was overwhelmed by what nature brought it.
Do we still hold a bond on this developer?
Yes, I believe we do. I don't know the bond in that.
There's no chance of that being released until this is rectified?
No.
Has he sold lots? Is this a housing development?
It's a residential development. I don't know the state of lot sales and that sort of thing.
Are there any homes? There's no homes yet?
I think there's some construction started. I don't know if it's a developer or other individuals building.
Back to Commissioner Ballard's question, I'm happy to do whatever we need to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, he says there have been good communications. The first thing I'd ask along those lines is, you seem to talk to people and you seem to have a pretty good handle with the developers, but you want to be fair to people. But there's no fairness in this, Ms. Coe, at all. Now, you can sit there and we can hammer this out. The pictures speak for themselves. And I don't know how going on to communication, I sent a little note to the engineer department to look at that and get back with me some 2 to 3 weeks ago. Have I got good communication? No. Now, if what we need to do, he's out there bulldozing now, and if we have this with what he's already done, I want the dozer stopped. How about that? Now, can you make that done? Can you stop any new grading out there until we get this problem solved? I think that will give him incentive to look at this and communicate even better with you.
Or even better yet, Chris, does he have an incentive to put in place these things for stormwater right now rather than doing the groundwork for his construction sites? He evidently doesn't have adequate storm pre-planning done for the site, or he's not accomplishing it. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure if that is accurate. I think that a lot of what's remaining to be done right now is actually work that would direct some of the stormwater runoff into the control structures more appropriately and adequately. So, in response to the question about continuing to work or not continuing to work, this may be a case where a call in to stop work could actually be counterproductive for what folks would like to see.
Right.
Chris, these are fairly recent pictures here after action supposedly was taken on that. But my concern again about the communication, when you have a commissioner ask you to do something, there ought to be some sort of standard that you get back with him so that we don't have to bring this in front of the full board and maybe work behind or sort of call it to people's attention. But independent of that, when you see those pictures like that, the citizen, she is the one that's being damaged. And if you have a heart and concern for these, and when you look at those pictures right there, I don't know what your schedule is, but that looks like that should be given a priority.